Oh my goodness, I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I'm very excited for those of you that are joining. So this isn't our podcast, but it's our podcast. And, some of you guys have been following us on Catalyst for the Trades. We have some really special guests with us today, and our partner in crime with the Catalyst, Chuck and Dana from Opus and Gold's group. And we're really going to do a deep dive into y'all's story and where you came from, how you got there, and really how are you guys helping people right now. You guys both have a very unique, very interesting, and obviously very intertwined, like birth,
Yeah.
collaboration. So Chuck, let's start with you. Let's 25 years in the home services industry.
Yeah.
It all hours.
Yep. Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it. First off, happy holidays to everybody. I missed the Catalyst podcast over the last few weeks. I'm excited to get back going with that. So, it's 2025, whether you like it or not, it's here. No, I did a podcast this morning, talking to movers, and I like doing different industries because I always find something that correlates. There's actually a lot of things that correlate in it, but my journey started, 25 years ago. I started as a plumber, got into new construction, left a job working in restaurant industry. Took a huge pay cut. I started out at $10 an hour. If you can imagine that, I feel so old saying that, right? Like, I mean, people in McDonald's are making more than that now. So, I got into it. I fell in love. I'm still love to tinker. I still love to go out into the garage and build things. I was not a school person, right? I'm a field guy. I'm a technician through and through. I was like 23 years old when I started, roughly, and I did that for several years, and then I went to a ski vacation in Utah, Salt Lake City area, and I landed. I saw the land of opportunities, what I like to say, right? Saw how many people were in the valley. I saw the expansion and the growth that was happening there. And then I started to look at how close the ski resorts were to the airport. And I was like 30, 45 minutes away from like world-class ski resorts. So I said to my friends, I said, that's it, I'm moving. And they were like, no way, you're crazy. Like, you have a good job, you have a great career. Like I was doing side work. I was doing moonlighting. So I was, I had a business, but it was a side business, but it was producing more income for me than my 9 to 5 at that point. I was licensed. I was just about ready to go out and start a business there full time, and I had great clients. I mean, I was really rocking and rolling, and I said, no, this is not where I want to be. I wasn't married, no kids. 6 months later, I went in February. 6 months later, I moved to Salt Lake, and that was in 2008. And everybody remembers 2008. If you were in business, or if you weren't in business, everybody remembers 2008. So, I bought my first house in 2008 in an area that I had no idea about, didn't know anybody. And I came out here and I worked for a bigger company for a couple of years just to get the lay of the land. And I was very content working for somebody, doing the side business and working for somebody full time and getting my licensing. I was burnt out. Right. I'm like, man, I don't want a company again and all the things. Right. I was like, I'll just work for somebody. I'll make a decent living. And my bills just got cut in fractions of what they were in New Jersey. And, so I was content. And 2 years in, I was consistently, I think they had 17 plumbers. Like I said, it was a bigger company. I was consistently top 4 on the board in sales. And 2 years in, they decided to let me go. And I was about to have my first child, and it's 2011-ish, right? And it's still like it was still coming out of 2008. They let me go, and I was making decent money. It wasn't great, but it was paying the bills, and I was skiing like 80 days a year, so it made up for it. But I remember I could not find a job for more than $16 an hour. And I was like, what am I going to do? You know, like I need benefits. I'm about to have a family, all these things, right? So I took a job. And this is probably my favorite part of the journey was I took a job and I was really good at tracking my numbers, right? And they started me at $16 an hour. And I sat down, I said, I'm going to give it 90 days. And I sat down for my 90-day review, and they brought me in. They're like, hey, Chuck, you know, thanks for coming in. We have some awesome news for you. And I'm like, cool. That's, you know, here's your numbers. You're doing your billable hour was like $732 an hour. I was like, well, actually, it's a little bit more, and I had tracked it. And they're like, yeah, it's great. You're crushing it. Thanks for all the things that you've done. You've helped us build out a boiler department. You helped us build out a drain cleaning department, so on and so forth. And they're like, we're so excited. We'd love to offer you $18 an hour. And my face just dropped. And I was like, guys, like, tell me who's even close to what I'm doing billable hour wise. And I knew it because I, you know, got employees talk, right? The guy underneath me was 200 and something an hour. And I'll never forget. I said, look, I just need to be where I was at when I left New Jersey, which was 25 an hour. I'm not asking for the world. I'm going to prove myself over and over again. Like, that's it. And they said, unfortunately, that's the best we can do. It's 18. And I said, well, unfortunately, we're competition. And from that moment on, I went out and I started All Hours Plumbing from my garage. I had $10,000 that I invested into it. I had all my tools and things, right? So I bought a used van. Looked like, you know, if you saw it at near a school, you were going to call the police on it, right? Like,
The van.
yeah, exactly, right? So it was one of those things, and I was determined. I was lucky enough that, you know, because I'd moonlighted for so long, and everywhere I went, people knew me as Chuck the plumber, right? Because you can't say my last name. No one can pronounce my last name. So I would introduce myself as Chuck the plumber. And everywhere I went, every time I went out to eat, every you know, deli I went into, if I went to go buy a car, if I went to go buy clothes, I gave somebody a card and said, hey, if you ever need a plumber or know somebody that needs a plumber, let me know. Well, I'd done that enough over the 2 years. There were some people that were calling. So I landed a couple big jobs, and there it was. I was off to the races, and you know, it was a pretty incredible journey, and we grew it from there. You know, from my garage to 20 million in 12 years, and we sold and exited on the 12-year mark.
Whoop whoop! I
Yep.
know you didn't do that alone.
No.
I met this beautiful woman. That is an incredible story. I love entrepreneur stories, especially when they start from a garage dead broke. That's I love that. Dana, when I met you, you were kindred spirit to my soul.
Yes.
You and I
Yes.
just quickly hit it off, having some similar background coming from supply chain management, the retail sector, and eventually you wound up coming in to ship this man back into shape.
Exactly. Well,
Tell me a little bit about it.
yeah. So in all fairness, like he had grown so quickly, the company was still running like he was running it out of his garage.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was to the point where he's like, okay, now I'm noticing some things. And he and I we're siblings for those who don't know. And so he and I were chatting over Thanksgiving one year, and I was like, what is your marketing person doing? And that's kind of how it started out. And then we just continued the conversation. I don't remember, it was a week or two later. He's like, come on out. So I was like, all right, I'll just come out. And by the time I left, we're like, okay, we're both kind of feeling like this is a thing. So I started, that was 2020, January of 2020. Chuck always says February. It was January, right before COVID. It was at the end of January. And so I come from a drastically different background, more corporate. My degrees in like retail and fashion, and how a customer like shops and everything, like what do they see, smell, signage, all of that in the store. How is the product merchandise? That's like what my degree is in. And then I have this amazing ad agency experience as well. So all my friends were like, what is happening? What are you doing? And so I did lots of strategy working with Fortune 50 companies. And so like Chuck and I were both intuitive people, and we're just like, yeah, like this is going to happen. We're going to do this. I came in with no job description, had no clue what was going on in the trades world, what it was, anything like that. And we're just like, we both like, okay. I was living in Michigan. Clearly, the business is in Utah. So for that first good year or so, like through COVID, I was going back and forth every other week. And through that, and then there were times when COVID was really bad. Whatever, we were. I worked remote, and anyway, so we just knew like Chuck wanted to get out of the day to day, so I had to come in. He's got young kids, so I had to come in and learn the business.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what I did. I just like observed, went my comfortable area, like really zoned in on marketing in the beginning, all of that, got us up, just trying to figure out what is the customer journey, all of that type of stuff. And then we started working with a group, and it just helped us like accelerate even more so, because there essentially were no processes in place. Like Chuck said, at that point we were at 12 million, I think like 70, 75 employees, and profit was kind of up and down. We weren't really looking at stuff. We didn't have a budget. Like there was just, I don't want to say a mess, but there was a mess. And so we had to figure all that out. And then as the time went on, Chuck was just like, I think I'm done. Like, I'm just done with all this. And that was a year that I think we had 2 months that were like negative 350,000. And like, I jumped up ahead, but Chuck was basically not the day to day. I took over as GM, COO, or whatever you want to call. And so I had to really figure out, okay, we all know you have to have double digits in order to get to market. And so we just started hunkering down and had an amazing team that helped us do all of this. They had no idea what we were doing, but Chuck and I and his partner did. And so we just focused and did it.
Yeah.
Come on. So, gosh, it's interesting because, back then, all of the fundamentals that are necessary, my business coach always said, if I could only get you to do the things you already know you should, you'd consider me a genius, right? Like anybody that goes into becoming an entrepreneur, we go into it, no matter how much we want to act like we don't, knowing, yeah, you need a budget. You should have some financial knowledge. You should understand tax. You should know how to log into QuickBooks. You should know how to write a job description. You should build an SOP. Like those are things we intuitively, anybody knows as an entrepreneur. I hold the responsibility and obligation to do those things. But back then, that's time. And as an entrepreneur, you're trying to pay the bills, and you're trying to bring in the dough and take care of all the humans and manage people, and basically anything that allows you to put dollars in the bank account so that you can put the dollars right back out the bank account, take care of the people who are putting them in. It's just a never ending vicious circle.
Yeah.
Whereas in today's environment, like you can leverage AI to get all of those fundamental things done in a matter of minutes. You can create that brass tacks list of first do this, second do this, and you can get these things done quick so that you can have at least the infrastructure in place to be able to scale a heck of a lot faster.
Yeah.
Like when you guys go into a business now, are you still seeing that when you go into a business that the core basics, the core fundamentals of like the checklist of things you need to do? It's like, I feel like it's like giving your kids a list of stuff you should do when you wake up before you go to school. Like these are the basics you need to have. Are you still seeing that those pieces are missing day to day?
Yeah, Jen, awesome question. I mean, so let me tell a little bit more about our journey too, right? So Dana came on in 2020. We all know what happened then. Before that, we were 9 years in business. We were doing $12 million a year in sales, and we were running it just like that, right? Pure muscle. We thought we were doing great because we had not some success. $12 million is some success, right? Like it was good. Like we thought we were untouchable. And I shared this story this morning. Literally, the best thing that could have happened to us was COVID hitting. It
Mhm.
humbled the shit out of me. Excuse my friend. It
That's
literally it opened my eyes wider than they ever had been. Before COVID, I thought I was on top of the world. I thought I knew everything. I know all. I'm a great business owner. As soon as that happened, I said, I don't know anything, right? And I remember having the conversation with Dana. We came up with a plan of who we were going to lay off, what we were going to cut, like all the things. It was a Thursday night, and we were going in Monday morning, and those are the things that we were going to roll out, and we did. But I remember saying we're going to do two things. We're going to double down on marketing, and we're going to find a mentor. And those two things right there saved us. And literally, when I walked into my mentor, I was like, I know nothing. Now, I know nothing about business. Teach me everything. And I became a sponge. I became the best student that you could possibly ever imagine, right? But there was two parts to that. I knew that I didn't have the time to bring Dana up to speed. So I knew, like, okay, let me go to someone that's been in the industry, that's done what I want to do, and bring Dana up to speed as well. And by doing that, we were able to go in 2020. We finished out the year. We doubled in size, we didn't double. Well, I think we doubled in sales, almost, but we doubled in size for sure. And we lost 500,000 that year. We sold in 2023 with double-digit profits. So we turned a big ship, right? So back to your question about, yes, our businesses run just like that. I'd say I think it's gotten better for sure. I'd say probably about 70-75% of businesses that I see nowadays are doing exactly what I did. They're looking at the bank account and they're saying, oh, we're doing great. Money's coming in. When it goes down, they start to panic and they start to throw, let's do more marketing. Let's do this. Or,
a boat.
buy a boat, something like that, right? Like that, but that's exactly it, right? And then they're looking for a place to blame because they don't know the data behind it, right? So if they're not making money, real easy place is to say, hey, my digital marketing company is not producing for me. But they don't know that the true numbers and the data behind it. So I feel it's gotten better. Most entrepreneurs in the trades, let's face it, right? They're not someone that went to school. They started in the trades because they didn't like school. They were like me. I barely graduated high school, right? I didn't do well in school. So I decided, working with my hands, I could make a very good living, and I didn't have to go to school. So I didn't know QuickBooks. I didn't know any of that stuff, but I was smart enough to learn along the way. And I had family helping me, my mom, my sister, brother-in-laws, so I had family, but I was very blessed to know to hire people that were smarter than me. I understood what they were doing, but I didn't know how to do it. And as I got to that phase of hiring a mentor, that's when I started to figure out, okay, these are the questions that I need to ask the people in these positions. And then that naturally gravitated to bringing Dana on with her experience and her background. We just brought that into the trade side of it as well. We also purchased in 2020, we purchased another business, a fireplace company. And that's another reason why we brought Dana in, was for her retail experience, because now we had showrooms. We bought one, or we bought the company. It had one showroom, and we launched another one in another area. So that's why we brought her in. But the real answer to your question is yes. A lot of businesses, they get so busy at doing, taking care of the clients, which you have to do. They lose sight, or they don't have time to do the other things. And it just gets, I know one guy that we talk about it often. He hadn't done his taxes in 7 years, right? Like that's crazy to me, and like, again, I was definitely very blessed to have the people that were on the journey with me, but I see a lot of businesses that still do it. Dana, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah. So for me, it's a lot of, we talk about this. Any of our clients that are watching or listening to this are just going to be like, yep, I heard this a million times. Is that the owners tend to get stuck in the day-to-day stuff, in the daily fires, and they're going to continue producing, doing the same exact thing. They might blip here and there, but it's hard to forge like drastically, strategically, if you're not being super strategic about it. Like there is a way, like someone has to be in place that's going to drive the business. That was me. I was driving like crazy. And it like there were quarterly plans in place. Like there everything was very thoughtful that I was doing to drive the business. Yep, we still had the day-to-day fires. So being strategic, you're zoning in, but you're also zoning up. And that is really highly needed. And I think a lot of owners don't really know what that is or how that can be done. And that's like, how do you incorporate in quarterly plans? So what does that do? I mean, all this is super fresh in my mind. I'm preparing, I'm going to do an on-site next week. And so just doing a lot of that thinking, like teaching his team how to think strategically, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. So we're going to do exercises and all of that because that's what's needed. So many people just don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Jeez. Like my heart kind of hurts because the reality is, I don't like, geez, I don't even know where to start. Like the reality is the majority of these are underfunded from day one,
Yep.
undertrained, no experience
Yep.
other than some technical piece, right? That's the product.
Right.
But that's like trying to let a shoe sell itself and run a business. Like a shoe is the product.
Yep.
The rest of it is the hard part, right? The rest of it is the hard part. And then there's this sequence of unfortunate events. It's all the DIY versions of not just you doing things that you have no business doing, but on top of that, hiring other people that are also just as inexperienced because they're cheap, and thinking that we're saving money by not spending money when the cost is doing it wrong for the period of time far outweighs the cost of doing it right the first time. Like I wish that there was, you know what I mean? Like I wish that this was simple of, find funding, hire someone who's already been there and done that and seen further than you've seen. They've already been there.
Yep.
They know the hurdles, and don't argue with them. Debate, but trust, right? That they've been there, they've seen it, they've done that over and over again, and nail down the strategic planning and understand who you are when you're coming to the table, right? Are you a visionary? Are you like a little ADD entrepreneur? Are you the crazy one? You know if you are.
Yep.
You know if you're the crazy. If you're the crazy and you got wild ideas and you're all over the board and everything, or are you the implementer? Are you Dana? Are you going to come in with a controlled system, controlled process, and you're going to have very strict, stringent, these are our 90-day rocks we're going to accomplish. I can see the future. That's my job, right? To be able to predict the future and where we're headed. But it's also my job to provide the organization with a very clear plan of what are we going to accomplish in the next 90 days and then be able to pivot if we need to.
Mm-hmm.
It changes, right? I mean, so you guys come in at the tail end after so much damage has been done, and it becomes a turnaround thing. We're in the same boat, right? We come in and it's a disaster of decisions. It is marketing
Yep.
agency after agency after agency. We're getting handed a pile of crap, and everybody wants to go from the pile of garbage to a winner. Like there's so much cleanup work that needs to be done here before we can even start making progress, whether it's digital or marketing or branding or operations or financial or you as the owner. Like what's the game plan for taking and deconstructing the pile of mess?
Yeah.
What's the order? How do you tackle it?
Yeah.
And what's the mindset that's required for you to even say, I'm even willing to tackle this with you?
Yeah. And the trust is gone because they've been burned by several different marketing companies. There's no trust there. So everything that you're telling them, they don't trust.
Yep.
Look, we've all heard this, and some of you listening have probably heard this before. if you're not doing these things, you have a glorified job with all the
It's a
risks.
lot of risk,
Right.
a lot of
So
liability.
look, and I said this morning too. Do what you love and do what you're good at. Me, I was very good at being in the field. I was very good at sales. I was very good at installing. That's what I loved. But as soon as I came out of the field, and I was in the field for 9 years in my business, as soon as I came out, we lost money. There's that glorified job, right? And because I wasn't priced, I wasn't collecting the data, I wasn't doing the things that I wasted. I don't want to say wasted, but I spent 9 years at a glorified job. It wasn't until the last 3 that I owned a business. And that's where a lot of people, like, look, if you like being the technician, be the technician, but find a Dana, right? And or find a Mel or financial person. Find someone to do the things that you don't love to do. That's, I mean, it's not rocket science.
No, and if you
No.
can't afford it, shit, trade for it. If you can't afford it, slice and dice your business. I'm sorry, but like if you want to truncate the time of pain, because operating a business poorly is a lot of pain for a long period of time, a lot of risk, a lot of obligation. It comes with a lot of emotional damage. It comes with stress on your family. It comes with all of those things. Like cut the crap, take the pie, slice it up, find an organization that can come in and offer the strategic guidance for financials, offer the strategic guidance for operations, offer the strategic guidance for marketing. Take a smaller piece of something successful, because 100% of nothing is nothing. And focus, like you said, do what you love. That would be how I would do it.
Yep.
Yeah. And there really isn't any excuses today. Yep. Like, it will come at a cost, of course, but now there are fractional CEOs, COOs, CFOs. Like that's the way to do it until your company can sustain a full-time person. Like it's a beautiful way. It's a beautiful thing. Now you can get fractional HR, everything's available out there. And so for those who may not know it, that's where you're hiring a consultant to come in, like all of us, and you can do it at a fractional cost, where if you would hire us as a C-suite, it would be much more money, each of us individually together for your business. So that's why fractional people are so beautiful in the business realm of things.
It's relatively newer, right? It's becoming more and more popular, but it's like VAs, right? Like if you utilize VAs in your business, what did that do for your business? You're getting the same results for a fraction of the cost. Same thing as a fractional leader, a fractional CFO, a fractional marketing person. All of that goes hand in hand. It's just about figuring out like where to implement them. And you said something really awesome before, because I'm a true believer in ChatGPT and I'm a true believer in AI, and the amount of stuff that's changed and revolutionized even in the year and a half that I've not owned a plumbing company is amazing to me. Here's the problem with that, right? And it's not really a problem, but I still see a lot of people misusing it, right? You can have all the information, and this was true with the organization that me and Dana were in with the company as well. We saw some people succeed and a lot of others fail. And here's why. They had 1,500 different pieces of things or different things that you could implement into your business. But nobody was telling them this is the one you should do now, right? I can type anything into ChatGPT, but is it what my business needs right now, right? And that's where me and Dana decided, okay, this is the missing piece that a lot of places aren't getting. And why we decided to open the Opus and Golds group is because look, we don't have we're a year in business. We don't have the fancy place that you can go and get all the resources. We're getting there. We have a lot of them. But we don't want to just give people access to that. We want them to come and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this in my business. What do you think? Is this the smartest thing for me to do right now at where I'm at in the journey? That's the missing piece. That's something that, unless you know how to prompt it in ChatGPT, or unless you know what that missing piece is, nothing's going to give you that result,
Right.
right?
Nor the experience. I mean, as you're saying that, Chuck, I was just reminded, like, one of the questions we hear all the time is, or I'll see in the different Facebook groups, oh, I think I'm going to hire my marketing person. I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, you don't know. You can't hire one person to do all of that. Like, you need an agency to do the specializing in that type of stuff. I mean, that is a super, and I'm sure, Jen, you and your team get
Yeah.
that all the time.
Here's the simple thing. This is the easiest version of that. Moms, or a mom, we don't give birth to human beings that have all the personality styles necessary to deliver a strong. These are different humans. If you sit down with a developer, like if I ask a dev, what are you doing on Friday night? They're like hanging out with friends. There is not a car in the driveway. There's no one there. They're not even in their living room. They're in the garage with the Heineken. Music is blasting. Lights are off. Some neon lights in the background. And all you see is the Matrix, right? If I ask the design team, what are they doing? They're like living rooms, feng shui. They have the cute little glass and the candles are lit and the flowers are on the table. If I talk to someone in social media, obviously they're hanging out with all their friends and taking pictures and selfies, right? The strategy people, the analytical people, you cannot do that. No different than you need fractional. You can use fractional experts on things. I have fractional things on my team.
Yep.
It takes an army. It's a team of 20 to deliver something, and they're all very different. And now it's even worse because they're more complicated. And now because now it's not a dev, I need a Python developer who understands how to code in AI. I need a JS.Node developer who knows how to code in low code. I need a WordPress developer that knows jQuery and HTML and everything else. It's gotten even more complicated than that. It's a lot.
And my thing is, owners are not going to, like, listen, I came from the agency background, and we like just barely blipped, and we were not comfortable hiring full-time in either. Like, we had an agency the whole time. And so there is that. But also, like, you don't, like, as an owner, you don't know how to inspect what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, even with my background, I wouldn't be able to. Of course, mine isn't the digital realm, is what is a lot in this world. But anyway, so that's why I'm always like, no, 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 don't do that. Like, it's.
You were talking about fractionals. So there was a point in my business, I want to say probably 10 million, 8 million, something like that, where I had a girls' night. One of my girlfriends and I have known since we were middle school, sitting down, wine night, talking about the business. And she was like, girl, listen, you need HR, crazy woman. And I was like, I'm not hiring HR. I will get fired. And she was like, and you need a CFO. Like, it's time. You've got a CPA, you've got your tax advisor, you have your bookkeeper. Those are not CFO. You need someone who is going to sit down with you, and they are going to coordinate and play referee with the attorney and the financial person and the tax person and the bookkeeper and right AR and AP. And you need them that they're going to control you and you're crazy. And they're going to put together a plan to say, all right, where do you want to be in 5 years or 10 years? And how are we going to get there? And I started with, I argued everything with my smart dumb butt. And I finally was like, okay, all right, fine. And so I let our little recruiter girl, who is not HR, but she did do recruiting for me, go out and find me HR and find me a fractional CFO. You know them as Melanie and Brandon. They're now full-time in the company.
Yeah.
But they started the same way. There's no way I could have afforded the salary they make right now then.
Yeah.
And I wasn't mentally prepared for the shift in having equal partners guiding the company and all of the decisions. It took me a minute to trust that. And now I would never make a decision without including them. I would never make a decision without including them in the process, ever. And I can literally go back to every dumb decision I made from the beginning of time, and I could write a giant list, bigger than Santa Claus list, of all of the dumb stuff that I would have avoided had I had them advising me. I could have truncated so much time.
Yeah. Jen, you said some great things there, right? Like, you went through that same thing with me. Like, I look back and I'm like, oh, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? It was all the experience. And I'm so grateful for the experience. There's nothing like everything that I went through allows me to help guide people nowadays, right? And there was a purpose for that. And I love saving people from the suffering that I went through. If you don't have to go through it, I already went through it for you. That's great. The couple other things that I noticed with businesses now is huge is the comparison effect. Because we have the Facebook and the social media and all that, it's like everybody looks and says, okay, I'm comparing my $1 million company to that $30 million company, and I'm doing the things that they're doing because it's working for them. Well, you're not there. You're not.
Or even listening to them on stage tell you how they got there and then going, I'm going to do that. Like I listen to old people on stage talk about how they launched that business and grew that business. I'm like, that's not relative now. The people you were doing business with were buying out of a phone book and everyone's taking notes and they're like, I'm going to do what that person did 20 years ago to get to 30 million. We have to know where the line is drawn.
Yep. But stop comparing to other companies. You're on your journey and you're at where you're at in your journey. You stop looking at all the information because there's a lot of information out there. Some of it's great and some of it is brilliant and a lot of it's dog shit.
Some of it's not relative at all.
Exactly. So you've got to define that stuff, right? And it's very easy to get distracted. Like it was easy 20 years ago without social media to get distracted. Now it's even worse, right? So,
don't you think a lot of it is smoke and mirrors as well?
Oh, 100%. A lot of people that are out there so-called helping people do things, they haven't done anything themselves, right? And when I found, or we found a mentor, we were actually signed up with someone else, and we decided to go with the one that we went with. And it was because they had a similar business to what I had, and they did the things that I wanted to accomplish. But you really do have to do your research and read through the lines, right? Like you don't, just like with digital marketing, you don't want to go through 7 mentors to get to the right one, right? You want to try to find the right one within the first couple or even that first one. So ask the right questions. The biggest one is, have they done what you want to accomplish? And whether that's, sell the business, whether that's be profitable in the business, put systems and processes in place, turn the business around. Are they a visionary? Do they have field experience? Do they have the office experience? How did they, hire this person? How did they bring in HR? All that stuff, right? Like you don't want to learn from somebody that hasn't had practical knowledge of doing that stuff. It's just, it doesn't tend to work out all the time.
Definitely, I see that constantly, either because of the smoke and mirrors, it looks fancy superficially.
Yeah.
Or because it's comfortable. And comfortable means sometimes friend or family, sometimes local. Then they just avoid the pitfall. We already know what the end result is.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about this, if you had a crystal ball and you could see everything that was going to come your way in your journey, right? You just started a company. Maybe you're doing $1 million, maybe you're doing 2 million, but you have that crystal ball and it says, hey, look, here's this roadblock that's coming. Go around it. That's what a mentor is, a good mentor, right? Because they're going to help you identify those roadblocks and help you go around it, right? And I mean, I say it all the time. If there's one thing, if I only had one thing that I could change about my journey, I would go back and I would hire a mentor from day one, because it would have saved me 9 years of pain and suffering. And if I would have done that, I probably would have been a $50 or $60 million company.
Yep. 100% agree. 100% agree. The this past year, if we were to reflect on 2024, depending on when you're watching this past year, a lot of companies felt a lot of hardship.
Yeah.
A lot of companies were really struggling, and there's some things that could have been done to prevent it. So I would just throw out there that they have to consider an election year no different than a shoulder season. It's just longer, and it
Yeah.
comes every 4 years. And I think that's an example of what a strategic mentor would have prepared you for in 2023 so that you didn't feel the pain of moving backwards in 2024, wondering what was going on and not realizing it until October, right? Because we know historically we've all been through many, many election years, and we all know that there's typically going to be a 34% decline in total search volume, and consumers are going to pull back during an election year. And in order to prepare for a pullback move, you need to expand by equal or greater amount the year before, so you're prepped for it, so that you can maintain even, not grow, but even, right? Or at least decrease the amount of deficiency that you see during that period of time. So you're not feeling a 30% or a 20% drop, but maybe you only feel 5% drop because you prepared in advance, right? This year was interesting because of the introduction of AI and consumer search volume changing on traditional search. Like the majority of the companies get their business off of Google or referrals. Those are the two primary sources of business. They're either, shaking hands and kissing babies and working their database, and or they are leveraging digital, Google primarily. And if 30% of the search volume, which that's what experts anticipate is going to pull off of traditional search in 2025, it's going to feel like another election year if you don't have a strategic advisor telling you that this is likely going to occur. You need to adapt and shift and pivot and prepare for potentially a 30% pullback on traditional search. These are just a couple examples of what, if you weren't going at it alone, right? If you weren't calling your, I'm gonna call them the triple Fs: friends, family, fools, felons, fast, free, whatever. If that wasn't your network of advisors, right? Then they would be sitting you down and preparing you for, hey, a year in advance, this is what's going to happen. Your digital would be prepping you for a year in advance. This is what's going to happen. But if you don't have that, right, then you are running your business via hot stove technique.
I love it. Yep.
Very true.
That shit burns.
Yep.
Touching the stove.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So you guys, I know you guys come in and help companies in multiple different avenues. So
Sure.
solutions. So give me three. We have company with funds that can afford can afford, knows they need, has the mindset and knows they need help, and is interested in changing the trajectory of their business, condensing time and making the right things happen faster. How do you help them? How do you help the one that maybe has done really, really well but made some bad turns, and they're sitting at that $300,000 in negative equity? They might have a $5 million or $3 million business, but we're not making money right now, and they don't know what trigger to pull. So maybe they're canceling marketing, or maybe they're looking at layoffs, whatever the scenario is. I see our producers bouncing in like crazy people right now. She was like flashing us in the back. So tell me the different scenarios. What are the different ways that people can engage with you guys?
Yeah. There's a few. We've done it really well that we can tailor it to any business, and we can make it so it's beneficial and cost effective for them, right? The first thing that I would say is, whether it's us or someone else, find one. Don't listen to 5 avenues, right? Find that one source and start implementing and collecting data from that one source. You don't want 5, 10 different mentors. You just don't. because you get mixed messages.
Paralysis.
Yes, yeah. So that's number one thing that I would suggest. Sit down and have a conversation with us. We're right now we're working with companies that are doing 600,000 a year all the way to 25 million a year. Now, what's great about us, Jen, is, and you know this, but everybody else doesn't. We're not looking to go to the masses. We're only have a certain amount that we can go to, and that's it. And me and Dana don't do this because we have to. We do it because we want to, right? And there's a lot of people that they're doing it because they have to, and they have to treat it like a business and produce numbers and projections and all that stuff. Me and Dana don't have to do that. So that's a big plus in our factor. Now, there's plenty of different ways. Like you mentioned before, if you can't afford it, giving up a piece of equity. Look, if somebody told me in 2020, give me 10% of your company, I'll take you to where you want to be, and we're going to scale it to way more than $12 million a year, I would have been all in. I would have said, take 20, let's go, right? Especially if they have a proven track record. Now, I get it. That's scary. Partnerships are different, right? Like some of you may have been down that road before. I get it. That's one way. The other way is just simply have a conversation with us. We're running a group of $1 million and under right now. Very cost effective. You get 2 group meetings with me and Dana a month and 2 group meetings with a fractional CFO. So if you are just really good at doing the sales process, taking care of the clients, the product, the whole 9 yards, you're going to get the things that you need just from that basic group of ours. That's our lowest tier. And we have it all the way up to board of directors. Like our biggest company, they're doing 25 million a year. We meet with them constantly. At first, it was very heavy loaded. And since we've gotten, grooving with them, we've been able to back off and let them do their things as well. But at first, it was like 4 or 5 times a week that we were meeting with them. And we have everything in between there. It just depends on where the company's at in their journey. The first thing that we're going to tell you, honestly, is, or ask you, is, do you have a budget? Do you know your numbers? From there, if you don't, we can't do anything because we won't have a way to know what you're doing now and if we're improving. So that's the first thing. If you're good with your numbers and your QuickBooks is also that, like, that's going to be the first step. Once we know that, then we can start to identify the pain points and run it based off the budget, right? And that's true for just any business. If you don't know the numbers, how do you know what to do next, right? And Dana, I'm sure you have plenty to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, you basically hit all the points on that. Like, how can you know where you're going if you don't know where you're going? So you're here currently, what's all in between? That's what you have to figure out. And, you want to, I would assume you want to at least comp your previous year. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that goes on and in the in between, but definitely.
That one's really simple, right? If I need to get somebody to my house, I need 2 pieces of information. Where are you right now? Current address, new address. And then you can create the map to the destination, right?
Yeah.
You can't get there without those 2 pieces of information. You guys, I have fallen in love with you guys. Aww. I really absolutely adore you as human beings, as people, as professionals, your experience, your story, grassroots, and you guys care. And like you said, you don't have to do this. You enjoy it. And I think that's what made me so passionate. I'm like, oh no, we're going to be best friends. That's how this is. These are my people. Yeah. So, I've had companies that have came to us and wanted us to take an equity deal in their business in exchange for marketing services. And in every situation, I can ask 3 questions and I can say, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole unless you have conversations with y'all first.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't work, right? It doesn't work with a one-legged stool. There's no one-legged, doesn't work if you only solve for marketing. That's not your only problem, I promise you. It's not your only problem that your brand is ugly in a DIY project. It's not your only problem, right? you know, there sometimes it's like that's the magic button. If I only get a pretty new truck and a pretty mascot and a purple hat, then like that's gonna fix it. No, it's not. It's not. If I get a new website, it's gonna fix it. No, it's not. Right? There is a whole bunch of pieces that all have to jive together and be headed in the same direction.
Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? That's what I see a lot of these businesses doing. Let me go spend all kinds of money on rebranding when I should be focused on sales.
You don't have any, you don't have any, yeah, or you don't have any leads. No one's going to see it.
Take my stalker van. I wasn't focused on having a nice, shiny anything on the side of it. I was focused on paying the bills.
Make money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you guys are wonderful. Keep fighting the good fight. And I appreciate everything you do for the industry. I appreciate being partners with you guys, working together. I appreciate having the podcast and opportunity to share even more content. And I love the fact that you guys, you have truly an opportunity for any company who has the want and the will and the ability to put something on their calendar and commit to it, to join you guys and work on the business instead of in the business at any capacity. So thank you guys for everything that you do.
Yeah. And Jen, one last thing, like we have talked to hundreds of businesses over the last year. We have 14 clients. So it's not a right fit for everybody. What I would suggest is anybody that wants more information, we will absolutely make the time to see if it is a fit with you guys anytime. If it's not, I promise every person, like one thing that I strive for is every conversation that I have, I want to leave that person better off before they met me. Right. And I know Dana's the same way. So you're not going to waste your time having an hour-long strategy session with me and Dana. You're going to leave there with golden nuggets. Right. Yeah. And if that's all that comes from it, great. You know, we'll see you when you're ready. Right. But I would reach out.
Yeah. This is why I love you guys. This is the same thing as I just got off a strategy call right before this. And at the end, like I'm straight training, education, training, planning, giving free information away, analysis, everything on the call. And at the end, they were like, but wait a minute. Can you provide this service? I mean, can you guys like do this? Because I'm not selling nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. Yep. But right. That's huge. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Everybody.
Thank you.
Today. Yes. Everybody who's joined today, whether you're joining us live on one of our social media sites, you guys drop a line. You can tag Chuck or Dana in those messages. Tag me. Let us know what you thought. Ask questions. All of us are very active on our social media profiles. We will answer those questions. Set up time. It costs nothing to get information. And if you haven't subscribed to the Catalyst podcast, I'm going to plug that right now. Go to Spotify, look for the Catalyst for the Trades, subscribe to the podcast. You guys have a podcast as well, yes? Dana?
Yes, the Trades Accelerator. Yep.
There you go. You got Catalyst and the Accelerator. Let's go.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks to our producer, Zach. You guys are amazing. I know you're behind the scenes, always making sure we look good. Otherwise, we'd probably be late and not get the technology working. Thank you, Jazz and Krista.
See you guys.